other types of parameters. Now, for example, here I have another field dot type in private integer b. Now I'll add this b equal to a means parameter plus this dot a, that is field. So one parameter and one field, two things we have. Now b contains the calculated value, that is 19 plus 19. Now what I want is, if I want, I can write console dot write line b equal to, I can print that value b equal to b. So no doubt you'll get the answer as b value. Run the code. B value will be returning as the calculated value, but I'm not interested to print the value in that way. We'll see another technique actually. So instead of printing the value of B inside that show method, do we have any alternate way to print the value? That part we have to study. Okay, so here I make a change. So I don't want to print like this. Now what I want, this B value, which I created inside a class as private, instead of printing here, I want to print that B value in main method. B value I want to print in main method. So since it is private, I can't print directly. I can't say d dot b, that will end up with error. So we have an alternate one. And that alternate solution is, you can write in this method return b. Yes. But problem is, if your method is returning a value, then return type cannot be void. Now return type should be depending on data type of this variable whose value is being returned. So now b is of type integer. So definitely this void should be replaced by integer. That error will go now. Yes, gone. Now how do you read this? Method returns integer type data. Method works with one parameter of type int. Okay. So this b value, what it returns, I receive that return value here. Integer r is equals to, yes, console dot write line r equals to plus r. Yes. So now r value should be the b value now. Whatever is b, that value should be displayed by r. Yes, r is 38. So now one rule. Method can return maximum of only one value. Only one value. Method cannot return multiple values. Maximum of only one value. And return always does two jobs. Return. One, it returns a value, and second, it terminates a method. It returns a value and terminates a method. Two things it will do. So it means what? After return, you are not supposed to write anything. That would be error. I mean, so it's a warning. It's not error actually, it's warning. Try. After return, I write console.writeLine. Thank you. It's error. I mean to say warning. Yes. Compiler and I mean to say CLR cannot reach to this code. And you got a message. Unreachable code detected. Which means for whom it is unreachable? For CLR. So return is always treated as what? End of a method. Terminating point of a method. Return. Okay, another story here. Now what I'll do, not necessary to have again private int b. You can directly say here itself, comma b. It means same. I'll introduce one more. C also I'll introduce. Third variable. Now I say C equal to b plus a plus this dot a. B is already 19 plus 19, 38 plus 38 this is. 38 plus 38. C will store the calculated value of these three statements. Now, question is, if I am interested, I can print here console.writeLine C equal to C. I can print, no doubt. But no, I'm not interested to print C value here in show method. Instead, I want this C value to be printed in main. Here, as I was printing B value, though it is private, by returning its value, receiving in R, I printed value of B. Indirectly, I printed. Direct, I cannot print B. So I returned B value to R and R was printed. Indirectly, R is containing B value now. Now question is, how do I print C value in main? This is a query for you both. You can come up with your solutions. Either you type your answer in your chat panel or you can unmute your mic and you can get back. I mean, you can reply to that query. What is my requirement? C is containing the calculated value and I want that C value to be printed in main. For that, what is the modification that you would do in a program? Both of you please try that and explain me what to do for it. Bala, if you write return C, then it means you are returning two values. It's error because you cannot have two return statements. Either return B or return C. But return, I didn't ask to remove return B. Return B will be as it is. Plus additional requirement we got now. Now I want that C value also to be returned now. But now situation is either B can be returned or C can be returned. But point is I need both now. I want C also to be printed in main only. I'm not interested to print in class, in show method. Rather I want that C value also to be printed in main. For that what to do now? As you already said, return C, that will end up with warning, unreachable code detected, same message. Yeah, now you can try some other answer. Whatever logic you're getting, you can share with me. Not necessary that we should be always like come in perfect. Like you try, no problem. Then I have to make these all modifications. I have to change my return type to string. I have to change my return type to string. I have to convert this B and C to string. Then I have to concatenate. Then I should return. Lengthy it becomes. Okay, this is one correct answer. Yes, you can do, but goes little lengthy because what I should do, this B value and C value I have to convert to string. then B and C I have to concatenate, and then return type should be changed from integer to string, and then return that string variable. Now, definitely what you said is very much accurate, but that goes lengthy. Just for the returning sake, you're converting everything, you're making changes in the program. Fine, that is good point. Any other logic that you get of it? Array is also one solution. Okay, but we are talking about normal variables. So array also goes lengthy because now I have to put all the values into array. Then I have to put them into return type statements. Other than array, any other logic that you have with you, you can share. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now what you can do, Bala, instead of going in all this way, what I say is, since that method can return only one value, now only one solution we have as of now. And that solution is simple. Add one more method. That's it. Public int something called as RETR, retrieve. Simply, and you say return C. Over. Over. You have to call that function. Get the value of C into that variable, and then C value will be printed. This is another solution. Do you understand, Bala? What exactly we want? Like simple. Create one method, return the value. Create a method, return. But obviously, this is not the perfect. But I'm saying alternate way. Instead of converting, instead of creating array, simple. Create one method, return C value. But if requirement is like you have D, you have E, you have F, you have G, like you have many variables to return. Now you can't waste your time writing for everything return statement. Separate method. Separate method. So is the reason we have been introduced. Don't go for this now. Lengthy. Don't try. Now, acha, before I explain you this, one more important thing, please. What you can do is, as you said here, that show will be called, last में B value will be returned, R will store, prints R. So we have written two lines here. Return value is stored in R and R is printed. Instead of two lines, you can club both in one single line. Console dot write line direct D dot show of N. Bas over. Over. Instead of what is happening, difference, you know what is happening? This function will be called, method will be called, N value will come as parameter, all this stuff is executed, B value will be returned, console dot write line will print that B value. Here it is storing into R and separately we are printing R. But here return value will be printed directly. Makes lot of difference in reading. Printed directly. And remember, show is a method which you have written inside another method. So it is like you have written method inside another method. You call this in C sharp as method cascading. Method cascading. Please never use a terminology called nested method. There is nothing such concept in C sharp called nested method. Nothing. Rather, it is appropriate to use a term called what? Called what? Method cascading. That would be best to use. Okay, now we were talking about to get C value. So do one thing. Declare one variable first, integer. I just call this as CC. I took one variable. I didn't assign value for it. I didn't assign value for it. And that CC you send as parameter. Sorry, argument. CC. Okay? Send as argument. But rule. How many arguments you're sending? Two. How many receiving should be there? Two then. Always equal. Sending, receiving should be equal. Integer, something called as I. Okay. So now you see, show has two arguments. Body also has two parameters. A and I, N and CC. Okay, but rule. C is local variable. Without assigning value to C, you are not supposed to use that in your method, and it is error. It will be a message saying use of unassigned local variable CC. Unassigned local variable CC. You cannot assign. It's error. But how do you rectify this error now? Simply before CC, you should write out. Output parameter. Here also you should write output parameter. Yes, from here error is gone. From here also error is gone. Now what to do? This C value is copied to I. But whenever C is copied to I, it means that I value updates CC. It means if I print CC, that would be a value of I. Console.writeLine CC equal to plus CC. Control KD, Control F5. Yes, 76. Now remember, while going to method, it means when this line communicates with this method, there is nothing in CC. Nothing, because I didn't assign value. But C has a link with I. Link with I. And then whenever I is updated, or whenever I gets a value, automatically that value is updated to C. See? It means output parameters works as call by reference. Yesterday I explained you what is call by value. Today we covered what is call by reference. So CC is a variable that works for call by reference. That works for what? Call by reference. Now, can we have multiple output arguments and parameters? Yes. We don't have restrictions on it. If I have another variable, go for it. That also you can have output. That is what we have an advantage. Method can be made to return more than one value through output parameters. Through output parameters. We are not writing return keyword to return value, but output parameter works like that. Output parameter works like that. Yeah, now I'll explain you. I'll talk on optional parameters. Now we'll discuss. Next part is there. In that I'll explain you. Raghav, are you clear of this, Raghav? You have any questions to ask me? You can. The way we are going to work with your output parameters. The way we are going to work with what? Output parameters. Okay. Okay. Now, going further on this part of parameters, now remember one small point, and that point is, for example, now I have another variable called integer p equals 10. Yes, I'll write before call plus p. So it prints 10. Send that p now as parameter. I mean to say argument. So p contains 10 now. Here 3 should be the parameters. Integer j. So p value is 10. P value is 10. That p value it will copy to j. It means if p is 10, that value is copied to j. It means j is also 10. Now what I will do, simple modification is j equal to j plus I. I'm adding j equal to j plus I said. So it is like 10 plus whatever value was there in the I, that I'm trying to add. So what I want is, whenever, means while going, what is the p value? 10. After that, j got modified. So if j is modified, p should be updated here. So for that updation, rule is before p, you should add reference. Go on top. Even to this parameter, you should put reference. Now you put p, console.writeLine, p equals to plus p. Yes, control F5. 86, 76 plus 10, 86. So now I come to a point saying that reference parameters also works for call by reference, and another important thing is reference parameters also supports to make a method return more than one value, and reference parameters works for input and output both. It is sending the value as well as whenever it is getting modified, that value is being returned back again. So it is working for input and output both. It is working for what? Input and output both. It's working for both. It's working for both input as well as output. Can we have multiple reference parameters? Yes, possible. You can. Multiple reference parameters can we have in a method? Yes. Can we have multiple output parameters? Yes. Can we have normal arguments? Yes. That's what the topic is. Required parameters, output parameters, reference parameters, all are covered. Uh, CC cannot be, no, Bala. We cannot initialize because C is output parameter, so it cannot be initialized. It cannot be initialized because it is output parameter. Even if you initialize, try C equal to 77 or 1111. I gave CC, I have assigned to 111. But now interesting thing to notice is how much is C value now. Debug, start without debug. Same, 76 only. It's not error. It doesn't make point. It doesn't. Even if I assign, it's of no use. Even however, even I assign, its first point, it will not send that value. It will not send that value. And second point, that that CC depends on return value from there. So whatever I gets, whenever I gets a value, CC value will be overwritten. It means 111 is overwritten by 76. It's not error. Hmm. Raghav, is it clear, Raghav? Reference and output. Three we have covered now. Input parameters, output parameters, reference parameters. Input means you should give value. Output means method will give the value. Sorry, input means value will be given by argument to parameter. Input. Output means parameter will give the value to argument. Reference means argument will give the value to parameter, parameter will give the value to argument. Both input, output. Okay. Now we will discuss next topic, that is called optional parameters. Let's go for it. I'll introduce another method now. Public void display console.writeLine m concatenates n. And here, first call that method. So before call, after call, p value. Now, interesting thing, I'll better write here. Yes. Now, so I have to call this method now. The method name is display. Call d dot display, and I'll send two values, 111, 222. Okay. Receive here. Integer m, integer n. Now remember one thing, and the thing is, I want to call display making m as compulsory value, n as optional. And to set optional, what you have to do is parameter should be provided by value here itself. Yes. Now, advantage of creating optional. This optional parameter concept has been introduced from C#.NET 4.0 version. Before 4.0, there was no optional parameters concept. From 4.0, they introduced. However, we are using 7.0, so definitely we'll have a usage of that topic in our program. Now, what is happening? The advantage is, now instead of calling a method by two arguments, it will be enough if you call by one. It means 111 will be stored in m and n will be 555. It means now this method can be called by one value and two values both. If you call by one, default will be taken for n. Now if I execute, m is 111, n is 555. Yes. Call another way, d dot display 777888. Now, so now I'm calling the method with two values now. So m will receive 777. 555 is overwritten by 888. Now run the query. Now 777, 888, 555 will be overwritten. It means if you provide optional parameters, see that that optional parameter should be always at the last in the parameter list. This is wrong. After writing optional parameter, if you write again a required parameter, say for example v, it's wrong, it's error now. You cannot. Optional parameter should be at end. You write two required parameters and one optional parameter, or you write one required parameter, two. You all said this also optional. Valid. This makes sense. Yes, valid. Two optional parameters, but don't try like this. One required, one optional, one required. Wrong. We are wrong. Put your cursor. Read. Optional parameters must appear after all required parameters. It's error. Another topic that is called named arguments. One more concept we have. It's called named arguments. Now, what are named arguments? Named arguments will be like this: public void some method name you give as retrieve some method name and give two variables. That variables are something called as x, y, integer x, integer y. Console.write line x equal to plus x plus y equal to plus y. Yes. X equal to plus x, y equals to plus 1. Both. Now important point. Come down. Here I write. What I write is d dot retrieve. I want to give values for x and y here. Here I want to give. So I can say no. X colon 11, y colon 22, semicolon. Reverse you try. Reverse. First you write y colon 22, x colon 11. Now if I print now, x should be 11, y should be 22. Yes, that is the advantage we have of this is called named arguments. These are called named arguments. What is the advantage of named argument? That parameter value can be provided at method call. Parameter value can be provided at method call. and that parameter name should be followed by colon. Should be followed by colon. An advantage is because it is named parameter, that name you give, sequence is not compulsory. It doesn't mean like first you have x, you should give x value, then you have y, then you should give y. No, no. Even if you have x, y, z, you provide anyway. First you give z, then you give x, then you give y, it will accept. But colon and value should be provided. That is called what? The named arguments. Yeah. Still you have any question? You can. One topic is remained that we will see next coming classes. That is called Params Parameter. In this one example, we discussed all required parameters, output parameters, reference parameters, named arguments, optional parameters. All we covered in one example. So that instant reference you can have for all the 5 concepts, except the last. That is Params Parameter. Next topic we'll cover that. Okay. Bala, is it clear? Is everything clear? Raghav, use your chat panels, please, and update me. Okay. Okay, Bala. Raghav, any questions? Raghav, can you hear me? Oh, okay. Okay, Raghav. Right. Now we'll do another topic. Simple topic. That is how to create object as array. That would be our next topic. How would you do this? As I say, using system class employee, private int employee ID, private string employee name, private double employee salary. 3 fields. Method public void get data, console.write, enter employee ID message. EMP ID equals to int.parse console.readline. Then console.write enter EMP name. EMP name equal to console.readline. Then console.write enter EMP salary. EMP salary equal to double dot parse console.readline. Get your result. Public void display employee ID plus EMP ID. Employee name EMP name. Employee salary plus EMP salary. Now create a class for program main method entry point. Public static void main. Now simple. I didn't write any logic here. Just a class I created, named that class as employee. I created 3 fields, all are private. I created one method in which I had input. I have another method in which I display output. That's it. Nothing. No logic, nothing. Now, important. If I write employee, even equals to new employee constructor, even dot get data, even dot display. That's, now even is an object of employee class that will get inputs of 3 values and it will display all 3 values. Control F5. 1001 Ahmed 8900. Fine. All values are displayed. But how many employees data we are storing? Only one. Only one. What if I want to store now 5 employees data? 5 employees. Then alternate. Only thing is repeat this code. Second, third, fourth, 5 employees. 5 objects you create. Rename the objects. E2, E3, E4, E5. E1 dot get data. Copy. E2, E3, E4, E5. Change this. E2, E3, E4, E5. Display. Copy. E2, E3, E4, E5. E2 dot display. E3 dot display. E4 dot display. E5 dot display. 5 employees. Control F5. Now I should input 5 employees data. Try 1001 Bala and then some salary. 1002 Raghav, some salary. 1003 Ahmed 17 so and so. 1004 then some value. 1005 some value. Enter. Yes, all inputs are provided. Same values are displayed in output. But what if I want to store 50 employees data? 50 employees data. Definitely that will end up with wastage of time of writing 150 lines of code. 150 lines of code. How 150 lines? 50 lines 50 lines for creation of instances, 50 lines for get data, 50 lines for display. 150 lines of code. Instead of that, going lengthy, now we come up in short. Delete these many objects not required. These many times you don't need to call. These many times you don't need to call display. Simple. You create first. Employee array E equals to new employee of 5 over. Now object is created as array of 5 employees. Now for each employee, members memory should be allocated. For int index equal to 0, index less than e dot length index plus plus, and you should write e of index equal to constructor. It means this is for each instance you are allocating separate memory for the members. Then same for loop. Same for loop. Change E of index. But now this 5, you can decide even at runtime also how many employees data you want. Runtime, console.writeLine, enter number of employees to store, int n equal to in read line, replace 5 with n, over. Now whether it is 5 employees or it is 500 employees, code remains same. Code remains same. Control F5, same process will happen, you see. One A 1000, 2 B 2000, 3 C 3000, 4 D 4000, 5 E 5000. Done. Even if I have 500 employees, also same. Code static. Number is changing. That's it. That is what we have an creating object as what? Array.